Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. Now today I'm going to do a demonstration using my palette in a bottle dot sprayers, but I'm also going to apply them to stencils that I have here to do a very interesting background. This is one stencil here with some flowers, and I've got a second stencil which just has an interesting pattern. So I'm going to demonstrate the coloring techniques and the spraying techniques and the layering techniques using the dot spray bottles. Using the fine mist spray bottles. So let's go to my painting table and let's get started. The two configurations I have, the first one I have is the dot spray palette in a bottle. This happens to be the dot spray configuration with a white top. This is a green #1 paint in here. And the technique here is to hold the bottle about 5 or 6 inches above the paper, hold it down, and then just light tapping motion. You get a nice dot pattern. This will give you a texture. It could be leaves in a tree or a bush or something like that. The harder you put, you get more spray, the harder you pour. But just light tapping motion on that particular sprayer. Now the fine mist sprayers, which is the black top, the tops are interchangeable. I can take the top off of this and exchange it with this green one, and I can have a fine mist sprayer application with the black top. But I have the fine mist sprayer here with the cobalt blue. Now the technique here, hold it back about 8 to 10 inches and just do a steady pressure and push down on the sprayer, holding it about a 45-degree angle to the surface, and you'll see the light spray coming across the paper. I have another color here in the fine mist sprayer, which is yellow lemon with the black top. And I'm going to spray across this, show you the layering technique here of putting the yellow on top of the blue. So that gives you another color. As soon as you spray over top of one layer, you're going to get another color on that, like mixing your paints, but with a fine mist sprayer. And my last color I'm going to show here is Opera, which is a bright red. I'm going to move the paper slightly so I get the other end. And the same technique, hold it back about 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches, about a 45-degree angle, and then press down on the top. Give you a nice light pattern. And sometimes you'll get sometimes you get a larger dot with the fine mist in some cases. So I take a Q-tip if I want to pick it up while it's still damp, and I'll pick up those larger dots if I want to, or leave them there for texture or whatever I want to do. Oh, these dots on these spray bottles, they're all not the same. Each spray bottle has its own characteristic, and it took me 2 years to find the proper configuration that you see here today. I researched probably 60 different companies and many spray bottles configurations and sizes. These are the ones I came down with. The dot sprayer was very difficult to find the one that gave me a dot pattern like I have here. The fine mist sprayer also picked it so that the top would fit the dot spray configuration, so I could interchange the colors. This palette in a bottle is sold exclusively on everettwatercolors.com. Stencil I'm going to use is this beautiful flower stamp for a background, and I'm going to put it on a piece of this paper. Now all these items, the stamps and the paper and the other items I'm going to use will be in the description below. And I'm going to use my palette in the bottle fine mist sprayers with the black top. This is lemon yellow, yellow orange, opera, and quinacridone violet. So I have 4 colors I'm going to use for this particular stencil. Now I'm going to start out with the light color. I'm going to start out with the lemon yellow, and I hold the bottle about 6 to 8 inches away at an angle, about 45-degree angle, and then I spray it with a light mist. I do a couple sprays on it to get it started. Okay, then I move to another color. This will be the orange that I'm going to use in the dot spray. And I'm going to move around to another angle over here, on this side, over here. Now I'm going to pick up the opera, which is a bright red. There's a little glare here on the stencil, but that's because of the light I have above. But let me go ahead and get the spray done. So in this corner here, I'm going to put a little, this edge over here, I'm going to put a little bit of red, a little red on this one. And then on this back corner, this corner over here, I'm going to put a little bit of the violet, or the quinacridone violet on that corner. And then I'm going to brighten up the yellow a little bit more. Then what I do now is I lift off the shields. I'm going to pick up the stencil. And if I see some little dark places, what I'll take is a Q-tip and I'll dampen it slightly, and I can go in and pick up some of the darker dots if I want to. Some of them I just want to leave. They don't do anything. They dry lighter anyway because it's watercolor. But if I want to pick up some of the darker areas, like right there and right there, let that dry for a few minutes and I'll come back. Dry now. It took about 4 or 5 minutes. It's not that much there to dry. But I'm going to put I clean the stencil off. I'm going to put it back on the same space. Okay. And then I'm going to block off the edges just like I did before with some old watercolor paper. And I'm going to take a tissue, and I'm also going to block off the leaves down here, because I don't want that to be the same color. I'm going to leave that color as it is now, and I'm going to spray over that separately. So I'll just block that off with a tissue. And okay, so I've got the edges covered, edges of the stencil covered, protect the paper, and I've got the leaves down here blocked out with a piece of tissue. And I'm going to go back and just put a little more color. I'm going to use the yellow lemon. And I'm going to hit this corner down here, right here, just a little bit more, right here. Just a couple shots. And I'm going to put a little more orange up in this corner up here. This one got a little bit orange in the spray bottle. Okay. And I'm going to brighten this one up just a little bit more. I'm going to use the opera, and I'll hit this corner down here. And then with the violet, with the quinacridone violet, I'm going to hit this one more, just a little spot up here. Okay. I think that darkened up. Now I'll take away the shield. And then I'll lift off the stencil. And now I'll go in, and I see a couple little dark spots here, so I'll go in with my Q-tip and pick up a couple of those darker dots. 1, 2, there's 3, there's 4, and that's it. So, you know, even the fine mist, once in a while you'll get a little dot, a little heavier spray, because not all spray bottles are the same. Every sprayer has a different characteristic to it, so you have to learn how to use them, and also maybe how to modify something that's happened. Okay, I like the way that's going. Now let me let this dry, and I'll go back and put a little more color. I'm going to put another color down here on the leaves. Okay, that's dry. It doesn't take very long, just 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to put the stencil back on. I clean the stencil off again. And what I do, because I have it laying here on the corner, so using the line, I'm using the corner of the paper here as my guide, and put it right back on that area. Okay, now I'm going to block off the edges again. And now I'm going to block off the top of this. So this is a shield, a plastic shield I have that I use for all my spray bottle techniques, most of them. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to cover up the flowers and part of the stem. Okay. So all I want to do now is spray down here. I'm going to spray down here at the bottom where the leaves are. And I'm introducing a new color. This is green number 1, which is a light green. But this has also got a little bit of orange and red. So the green mixed with that little tone there will turn out to be a brown color, or with a little bit more green in it. So green will come through, but it'll have a little tint of brown in it, which is okay. Now hold it back at about 6 inches away and press down lightly. Okay. All right. Now lift the shields off. Now lift up the stencil. Now you'll see a little bit of ground. They're not all the same, and that's good. And I like the way the colors are. There's a couple of little dots there, but that's okay. Just take the little Q-tip, and you can pick up any dots there. There I get a variation. I get a variation of that green. I think you can see it here. It gives me a little green tint and a little bit of that original, little bit of red, orange, what in there. That's fine. I like the way that turned out. Okay, so now we'll let this dry. Okay, now we're going to do a second stamp. Now this is going to be fun. This will be a little bit different. I'm going to take this stamp here and line it up here on the edge. Let me bring this down so you can see what's going on. This will give me a nice background design. And the colors I'm going to use the yellow again and the orange in the dot spray fine mist bottles, and use the opera, which is a nice bright red, and the violet, which is a quinacridone violet in the spray bottle, the dot spray bottle. And I'm going to introduce cobalt blue in a fine mist bottle. Okay, to protect the flower below. That's really all I got to protect is the one we just did. Okay, and straighten it up on the sides with the edge of the paper. Okay, I can just have a good time here because I can put any colors I want to. Again, I'll hold the spray bottle back about 6 inches. And I hold it at an angle, about 45-degree angle, about 6 to 8 inches away. And then I just press the sprayer. Start down here with a little bit of yellow. Then I'll put the orange in there now, a little bit of orange. And over here, maybe a little bit of red. And a little bit of violet over there in the corner. Now the blue, not too much of that because it'll take down everything else. So let me put a little more red in there, a little more orange in this corner, and then I'm really going to put a lot more yellows. I want to lighten up I want to have a little bit of sunburst in here, so I want a little more yellow. And I may go back and put a second layer in it, but let's check and see what it looks like before we go any further. Take the shields off. Let me take the stamp off. Take the stencil off. Okay, now there's a little more dots here on this one. Okay, because I pressed a little bit harder. So I'll pick up some of these dots. You can leave some of the dots in there if you prefer to have another little texture in here. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll take a tissue. I'll take a tissue, fold it over, and I'll just lay it on top of some of those dots. Press down lightly, and it'll pick up all that. And it'll leave a little texture in the back, because I'm going to go back over this again anyway. So that lightly takes up some of the extra paint. Now let that dry now, and we'll go back in and do it again. So that's the first application. Okay, we're back, it's dry. Now I'm glad I took that extra paint off there for a while, because it was getting a little bit, some of the dots were too large, because I want to go back in and put a little more yellow down there. So now by taking a little bit of that off, now I can put more yellow. And so I think what I'll do, I'll change my plan here a little bit. I'm going to, let's put this back on the stencil, lining up the edges, which is real easy. Okay, I'll put my shields back on. What I'll do is I'll use my smaller shield here, because I want you to be able to see. So I'll lay this on top of this right here. And what you want to do when you're doing stenciling or spraying, make sure you cover up anything else you don't want to get paint on. Because invariably it's going to happen. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is while that's in place, I'm just going to use put three colors back on. I think the violet was a little bit too heavy, and the blue was definitely didn't need. So I'm going to go with the yellow lemon again here, then going with the orange, and then the opera at the bottom there. So I'm going to go ahead and spray at the top again. Spray up here. Make that a little brighter. And I'll pick up the orange and go here in the center part, right in here. So you just aim the sprayer, go back about 6 to 8 inches, and just blast away. And here comes the red, the opera. Okay, I think that'll do it. Now I take off the shields. Now I can go in here. Now I can doctor up a little bit of these dots, a little bit bright. I can take them off a little bit, or I can leave them in, give me a little texture, but I like to take some of them out if they're too dark. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry. And then what we're going to do after I let it dry, then the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to crop out some parts of this, and then we're going to make a greeting card. These are the two background stencils that was made with the fine mist spray bottles. My wife Gloria is a stamper, and she cut those stencils into two backgrounds for greeting cards. The first background she made it into a 5 by 6 1/4 card. She added a die cut banner with happy birthday and a butterfly. On the second stencil, she created an A2 card with a die cut flowers and die cut leaves and love. That's not all. With the same stencil, she created a second A2 card from the remaining pieces. Then Gloria added the die cut hello and leaves. The palette and the bottle is available at everettwatercolors.com. A list of all the supplies used in this video are listed in the description below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, press the bell to be notified by my next video. Give me a thumbs up, it helps with my rating. Also write a comment or question about this video and I will get back to you. See you in the next video.